Hey guys, welcome to another movie review. Today I'm going to be reviewing the film Eddie the Eagle. It is a sport biopic about Eddie the Eagle Edwards. And he was a ski jumper in the 1980s that went through a lot of really tough obstacles in order to compete at the Winter Olympics that he was able to do through the help of a former ski jumper who becomes his coach for the Winter Olympics. Eddie the Eagle is really a film where it tells us, that never give up on the impossible. That this kid, was um, he went through a lot of physical challenges as a kid. He wasn't able to do other things that other kids in his neighborhood and school were able to do, and he always had this dream of becoming this Olympic ski jumper. And well, he was able to do it, but it took a lot of really tough obstacles and convincing of a lot of people in order for him to be able to not only compete at the Winter Olympic Games, but for him to have the success that he later had. So overall, guys, Eddie the Eagle, it's a pretty okay film. As you can tell by that description, it's pretty similar to a lot of sport biopics that we've already seen. This one just so happens to be about Winter Olympic ski jumping. But there's a lot of things good and bad about the movie that I'm about to share with you about Eddie the Eagle. For positives of the movie, I thought that, one of the big first positives of this movie is that it very much was in the 80s, that I liked the Olympic and 80s feel to the musical score of the movie. It felt very appropriate. Obviously, it took place in the 80s, and they kind of had to have the Olympic feel for the musical score. The film does this both ways. It does a very good job with this. So great job to the person who composed the musical score for this movie. A lot of fun. The film's also very well acted. Hugh Jackman's involved with the movie. Christopher Walken's in the movie. And James Broadbent, I think his name is, was involved with the movie. And all did a great job. Very well acted movie. Another thing that this movie did really well is really root for the Eddie the Eagle character in this movie. Taron Edgerton did a very good job playing him. We really root for this guy. He just really dreams big. This is really important for him to be able to compete the Winter Olympics and potentially win if he can do it. So we really root for this character. The director does a good job. The director of this movie did a good job with making us care about this Eddie the Eagle character throughout the entire runtime. This film also does a good job with making sure it looks like the 1980s, that it really looks like we're watching something out of 1987 or 1988, or even the 70s when we're watching this Eddie the Eagle character grow up. Just a lot of fun. Really felt like the 1980s in this movie. Matthew Vaughn was involved in this movie as a producer, and you can see his producing credit through some of the visuals. It has that kind of that Matthew Vaughn independent film kind of feel to it. A lot of yellows, a lot of browns. It felt like a Matthew Vaughn project, and I think that's one thing that both intrigued me to see this movie, and one thing I liked about the movie after seeing it too. You could definitely see his money getting involved in this movie just because it's very clear in the visuals that he was very present on this project, and I really like that about the movie. For negatives of Eddie the Eagle, there was a lot of really exaggerated expressions from the characters throughout the movie on certain situations, like when Eddie the Eagle's about to do something big at the Olympics. Very exaggerated scene. It kind of got annoying very quickly as it progressed. Also, Taron Edgerton, he kind of has this chin throughout the movie, and he's talking like this throughout the movie, and after a while, it got a little annoying. I understand that maybe the Eddie the Eagle guy in real life was like that, but to me it felt really exaggerated. There was even one scene where he kind of briefly is out of character, and then he goes back to that chin again. And some of the expressions in this movie I thought were a little too exaggerated. There's a scene involving Hugh Jackman too, where he's trying to explain how to do something with ski jumping, and it's really exaggerated. And you'll know what I'm talking about when you're seeing the movie. Very exaggerated scene. So as far as directing goes, maybe that was a problem, is that some of the acting felt a little exaggerated. Another negative about the movie is it's very conventional. This is a very conventional, generic sport biopic kind of story. If you've seen Rocky, if you've seen The Karate Kid, if you've seen Rudy, if you've seen, I'm trying to think of other films that are like these, like We Are Marshall, and I think it's called Invincible, like all those other sport biopics. If you've seen any of those, this film is very much in the same reign as that. It's very conventional, very by the books, by the numbers. Doesn't really do anything too different here, which is a little too bad. Another thing about the movie that I thought they could have done better with is they really don't give you, because in a lot of these sport biopics they tell you, oh well, this person later went on to do this, or oh they retired from this sport after this, or they tell you by the time the movie's done with and the end credits are about to roll what exactly happened to them. If they're still alive, what are they doing now? Unfortunately, this movie doesn't really tell us too much about Eddie the Eagle after what happened with this Olympic Games, what he's currently doing, if he's still alive. They really don't touch on it that much, and that's really too bad. I was very curious by the time the movie was over with what exactly happened to Eddie the Eagle. There's also some heavy-handed inspiration in this movie. There's a lot of scenes, specifically towards the end of this movie, that are trying to feel really inspirational. It just feels very heavy-handed. It feels very like it doesn't deserve what it just accomplished. It's just a little heavy-handed, and I really would have preferred a film where I could have been inspired on my own, rather than the film saying, "Hey, why don't you be inspired by me telling you that it's inspiring?" And hey, isn't that inspiring? And it's just like, why couldn't have I felt that on my own? So, overall, I'm going to give Eddie the Eagle a 7.5 out of 10. I think it's a well intentioned movie. It's a well made movie, but it just felt a little exaggerated in the acting department. The storyline felt a little conventional to me. I would have preferred something that felt a little different than normal. Um, really would have preferred more details about what happened to Eddie the Eagle after the entire events of the movie happened, because they really don't tell us what happened to him by the time the movie's done with. Um, and some of that inspiration just felt a little heavy handed to me. So overall, 7.5 out of 10. I think it's an okay Redbox rental. I don't think it's worth your $8 at the theater to see it. I think a $1 Redbox rental won't hurt for this movie if you're really interested in seeing it, or if you're big into the Olympics and you want to see another story about an Olympic athlete. Not a bad way to go. So 7.5 out of 10 for me. It's an okay film. Nothing really horribly wrong with it, but at the same time, I would have preferred something that felt a little different than normal with a sport biopic. So 7.5 out of 10. It's a pretty okay movie.